All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So I come from the hip hop generation, meaning I came of age in the glory days of hip hop music, right? Meaning what? When I was maybe 12 years old, 13 years old, this is when Run DMC, LL Cool J, Slick Rick, and the whole gamut, everything that was in the 80s, right? I was in the 8th grade in 1982, right? So I saw the whole thing blossom before my very eyes, and it captivated everybody in our generation. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to understand that 80%, now, this is not statistical. I'm not really saying I've done the research on this, but you can test it out. Challenge, right? This is a challenge. Go out. 80% of the hip hop music that we grew up on between 80 and 90, you could play it for kindergartners today. It has a little bit of profanity. There's some risque innuendo, and then some of it is just straight ahead, raunchy, and you can't do it, right? But really and truly, before you got to like Luke Skywalker and NWA, before that, no, almost all of the hip hop that we listened to was pretty G-rated, right? It wasn't puritanical, but it wasn't what we listen to today and pass off as hip hop. Why does this matter? It matters because the adults of our age, the people who were in their 50s and the 60s and the 80s, were so appalled by hip hop music because it was a huge departure from Cameo, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Bar K's, the Shy Lights, Al Green. It was such an extreme departure from R&B, which is what we had grown up on. All of us have been growing up on that, and our parents grew up on soul music, and so hip hop was just like an extreme left turn, and so they rejected it. But what happened in the wake of them rejecting this music and the social movement that corresponded with it? Well, it got picked up by the enemy. The enemy picked up our music and they weaponized it, so that what we have today is the direct result of the elders of our time totally rejecting the expression with no real responsibility. They didn't take any ownership of what we created. They didn't guide us. They didn't coach us. It was just hands off. Right? And the enemy saw, hey, this is a golden opportunity. Now, and we were willing participants, right? It was us who started to spew toxic, poisonous, degenerate ideas into our ears by the pound. We did it. They facilitated it. They financed it, but we did it. Now, this is significant just as an analogy for people in my generation. People who are now in their 50s, in their 60s, and above. Right now, we're experiencing an even bigger cultural movement. This is like 1,000 times bigger than hip hop. This is 1,000 times more impactful than hip hop. This is 1,000 times more influential and will have a much longer influence and impact on our culture than hip hop ever could have. We're talking about the emergence of Orisa lifestyle. Orisa is destined to become a world religion in seconds, right? Every day it gets more and more expansive. And the reason why I'm saying it's infinitely more influential than hip hop is because now it isn't just something that's cropping up in this little corner in New York and in this little pop in Houston, right? And it's just like every year it's picking up little by little in these little corners, and then gradually, making its way across the country and then spreading to the world. No, it's already global. Orisa is already a global phenomenon. It is exploding everywhere where there are Africans and where there are not Africans. Orisa has taken hold and is showing no signs of letting up. It's going to be infinitely more influential than hip hop music. And what's happening? People who are in my age group and above are crossing their arms and waiting to see, waiting to see, waiting to see. Can I trust it? Is it okay? Is it the devil? Is this demonic? You guys got to get up off your butt. You got to wake up. You got to get your head out of the clouds. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. You need to be on the right side of history with this. You need to be on the right side of the culture with this. You may not be a participant, but you need to understand what's really happening. It's about our culture, our tradition, our identity. When you think about the fact that right now is the first time ever that we have empirical scientific data about our DNA, that's a game changer. We have an African identity. You can say that you grew up in, of course, you've got a culture and a lifestyle and your history. All that is fantastic. Nothing erases the fact that you're from Missouri. Nothing negates the fact that you grew up in, Vermont. Nothing changes the fact that you're fourth, fifth generation. As long as you can remember back, your family has been Christian and y'all have lived in the United States. That is not what's being said. What's being said is if I take a pine tree from Georgia and I plant it in Texas, it's still a Georgia pine. If I take this mineral from, the Congo and I bring it over to New Mexico, it's the same mineral. It doesn't change the properties of the mineral, right? So just why we say no matter how long a log rests in the river, it will never become a crocodile. No matter how far a river flows, it never forgets its source. We are Africans because Africa is born inside of us. Now we have data. It's not just conjecture. It's not folklore. It's not, I suppose, and I think I heard a story. You can go and you can get a DNA test. And it's going to tell you not only what percentage African you are, but which African ethnic group you belong to. So we know beyond the shadow of a doubt where we come from and what we're made of. It's just fact. So it only stands to reason that as people get a clear definition of who we are and where we come from, that people are going to want to now know, well, what do African people do? How do they live? What do they believe? What are their traditions? What are their customs? How do I actually participate in this thing now that I know that it's a real part of my identity? How do I express it? How do I live it? That's what Orisa Lifestyle is capturing for us. It's providing a vehicle through which we can express and live the values of our bloodline. Don't be asleep behind the wheel while this is taking place. It's not about your faith. It's not about your religion. It's that you have to be able to see beyond that and understand that you can be more than one thing at once. Just like you can be African and American. Well, we know what the American part means. What does the African part mean? Orisa Lifestyle is creating the opportunity for us to define our African identity. All right. So I'm sending out this message to the leaders, to the elders, to the responsible men and women of consequence. If you are clear about your obligation because of your station in life to have a positive influence on not only what's happening in the culture today, but what will take place in the culture in the years and decades and generations to come, I want you to find out how Obafemi Origungwa and the Orisa Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice, your life, your values, and your legacy to the highest level. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. Ashe. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now.